First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Scherer. For the ones who don't know me, I'm the director of BST Studio. And it's my pleasure to welcome you here to the 8th edition of the BST Talks. And let me explain you briefly for the people that never came here, what is the BST Talks. The BST Talks is a series of events that we organize here at BST Studio that are inspired by the motto of the New European Bauhaus that has 3 words that maybe some of you that you came here, you know. It's beautiful, sustainable, together. Okay. So this is the 3 words, and we took these 3 words as an inspiration to create a series of talks that they go around these concepts because we believe in BST Studio about this, and our aim is that these events become a meeting point of different disciplines, not only architecture, that go around these principles. And these events, it's not only, we have one speaker the first Thursday of every month, and then it's a talk, and after we have a networking event with some food. And this talk today is the 8th edition. We had one of architecture, one of photography, one of materials, one of art, also about mobility, about fashion. The last one was about bioplastics, and today we have something very, very delicious. For this, we have invited Fofo Studio, Fofo Food Forms. It's a team that reaches different disciplines, especially architecture, design, and the shape of food, you know. And the 3 members are here, but today Lauritz will be our speaker. So, and he will explain us what is Fofo, what they do, and why it's part of it's a BST, and why it's beautiful, why it's sustainable, and why it's inclusive. So that's it for now. And just help me giving an applause to welcome Lauritz.
Hello, hello. Test, test. I'm super happy to be here today. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very glad, like it's the first time that I'm having the honor to talk here in the context of Fofo about the project. So I'm a little bit excited as well. I'm one of the 3 founders of Fofo, and I'm the one who's gonna present a little bit of our work in the context of the BST Talks, beautiful, sustainable, together. And I want to give a small disclaimer from the very beginning. Like, some things that we do, especially when we experiment, are not beautiful. Not everything we do is sustainable, and sometimes our work, especially our work environment, is also very competitive. So if there are certain fractions in the talk today, I'm very happy to discuss them. We try to incorporate these values to our work and always try to get better. But well, let's start to explain who we are. It's always a bit tricky because from the very beginning we never had a roadmap where we want to go, and we are growing very organically into something with every new challenge, with every new client, with every new idea that we got confronted with or confront ourselves with. But there's a starting point, which was that Martha, Lea, and me, Martha and Lea, also in the audience in the back, wanted to work together on this project and wanted to bring together our passions for food and for architecture and explore it in the context of this project. So Martha, she is a trained fashion designer, but worked as a chef in different restaurants and led her own restaurant in Berlin after she consulted like several food startups. She started with us the project. Lea is a trained architect and a very critical thinker that worked for a renowned architecture magazine in Germany, which is called Arch Plus. I don't know if some of you know it. And me worked as a spatial designer in scenography and exhibition design in the Netherlands. We thought that food and forms fit very well together. And at the beginning we had this understanding that food shapes bodies, obviously, like we all know. that our body feelings are heavily impacted by what we eat. It shapes communities. Like in communities, there's an act of togetherness and rituals that come with food, and it shapes the landscapes. I think there's not much like agriculture that has terraformed our planet over the last thousands of years. So it has a very big impact, let's say. And forms, on the other side, as a synonym for architecture, materiality, and technology, is dictating the production, appearance, taste, and consumption of food. And this is kind of the context in which all of the projects we are doing are unfolding. Yes, of course, like we work in lots of different scales, like from the design of a dish, of a plate, to the design of table setups and to scenography of spatial installations for lots of different clients from the private sector, but as well also for public institution and self-initiated projects. So let's talk about the first point of this, which is beauty. I think beauty is the ultimate maxim that every designer, every architect wants to achieve, but does not like to talk about. Because often when you come outside of the design world, design gets often reduced to beauty and aesthetics solely. But most of the designers that I know, they want to do something meaningful, something valuable, something functional. And especially for architects, it's easier to talk about functionality than to talk about beauty. So I think beauty is very, very functional. Because beauty attracts and thereby creates attention, which is one of the most important traits in our today's attention society. It communicates, like a beautiful red ripened fruit tells you, like, I want to get eaten, I'm sweet, I'm ready. And a well-curated plate tells you something about the person that is preparing the food. It tells you someone took care, and it promises quality. That's, I think, the same with architecture. Like a beautiful interior invites you to come in and to stay and to feel comfortable and protected. So beauty is functional, it creates attention, it communicates. It has the capacity to encapsulate a message and then through creating attention, communicate it. Now, this is the latest edition of the Nike Air Max DN8. We are not going to discuss if this is a beautiful or not a beautiful shoe. I think there's probably split opinions in the audience. I'm going to show you a series of different projects where we used beautiful image making to create attention and to communicate the message. So for the DN8, we got very inspired by the idea where the shoe is moving through the city, and we got inspired by different kind of metals and different kind of rubber floors that were getting back in fashion, and we wanted to combine it ultimately with the food, which of course inspired us most the shoe sole of the Air Max, which makes the Air Max, which is the air filled into like this small spherical pads that we translated into jellies. I'm just sharing some images of the process of like how we work. We're sourcing materials, which in this case is something very profound, something which you find a lot in the city. And we send it, and we added these small pedestals in a very precise manner to create almost a luxurious element that would be the tabletop for the spherical delights resembling the shoe. And then we brought everything to Madrid, built it up. We also designed this bar, for example, or there was this space executed by another design office. But you can see that the form, the shape of the shoe is present everywhere. And it's not only the space that is created, but it's also the people. So the guest list of this event was filled with musicians, dancers, performers, artists, and other influential persons that completed the image, all dressed from head to, no, how do you say, from nose to foot with with Nike and with the Air Max. And on this day, because it was the presentation of the shoe, I was expecting at some moment probably there will be like a presentation of the shoe. There will be someone coming with the shoe and showing it to everyone. But then I realized that all of the spectators at this event were at the same time also the presenters, because they were there to be there, and at the same time taking photos and taking videos, so being the camera team as well. So this was not only an event, this was a lifetime commercial production studio for a commercial shooting. And I think in this moment, it was the first of these events that we did. We realized we are not only someone that is designing food, that is like creating recipes, that is designing the presentation, but we are people that contribute with our work to the image making of beauty, in this case, to communicate the brand. And the next project, it's another shoe. It's only the second project. I promise you it's going to be the last shoe that we are talking about today. I just wanted to show you the project because we got this job shortly afterwards, and it just tells exactly the same story, just in a different scale and a different style. I just wanted to show it to you because to understand that you can apply the same methodology over and over and over again and come up with other results. So Flabelos asked us to interpret or to reassemble an imperial dinner for the Sissi collection. And we got very inspired by all of the verticality on the table and started to design all of these étagères for candles, for flowers, but ultimately also for food. But what inspired us even more was the Baroque architecture, the paintings of the cloud, and I think even more important, the dissolution of tectonics, so how the ceiling and the wall becomes one to create this one cloudy interior. And we found this beautiful fabric that has the capacity to reflect and to be formed very well and suited together to one gigantic 120 meter, I mean the fabric was 120 meter long, but it became like a really big one fabric that was covering the whole table. And the idea was in the end that there's not a differentiation between the floor and the table and the stools and everything just should become this one strong image in which the shoes are on the table, on the floor, and everywhere. And that's some details of the food. We also, of course, every time, if you have certain questions about food, it's always better to talk to our culinary director, Martha, afterwards, because it's not exactly my focus. But of course, we also got inspired by the dietary of the time. And we found this historical document about Sissi's dietary, which funnily enough revealed that she was not eating a lot, but one vegetable soup a day. And this we inspired by translated into this vegetable terrine jellies. And that's the last commercial project I'm going to talk about, which was for WMF, a German cutlery brand. I wanted to show it to you because this time it was not a food event, but they asked us to make a 20-second video. And this time they didn't want to translate a product or a collection, but they wanted to translate the feeling of summer into this video with a touch of sustainability. This was the brief. And back at the time, we had an ongoing research on edible, plant-based things that we can find in the ocean, so lots of algae and lots of things at the coastline. Again, please talk with Martha about it. And we wanted to capture different parts of the coastline that we found and translate this into a menu. And all of the food that we implemented to this video was something that was completely new and maybe unseen. Like this, for example, was a sea salad with different algae, and what were the pearls? Martha? Olive oil pearls. So there's some elements that are known, but it resembles the idea of the sea, I think. Anyways, when you try it, and that's what we always do, it's very important for us, even if this was just a video, it's important for us to do things that are really edible. we tried it, and the taste was very like salty, a bit cold, slimy, but like algae, like it tasted a bit fishy, which is weird when there's no fish, right? But I wouldn't say it was bad. It's really tough to say if it's something good or bad if you have never tried it and if it's new. So I think for us it's always important, if you want to embed something that you have never seen before, you need to implement it into a context that is familiar with you. And I think if there was, for example, the plate would not be there, then you could not say if you can eat this here or if you can eat this here, for example. So what we did was to embed it into a very stereotypical idea of summer, which was a floating person on a mattress drinking an ice-cold blue spirulina drink. I just brought this photo to show you how a very, very improvised film studio can look like at 6 in the morning in the summer times. But once again, like to create the story, we had the protagonist that was imagining all of these dishes while she was floating in the ocean, drinking this drink. And we wanted everything to end up on this table where all of the food comes together. And the table itself should give off the impression of the inflatable mattress. Because for us, like all of the story was happening at the same time of this person being there. I don't know if anyone understood it. I think that was not so important. It was kind of fun to design this thingy. It was an inflatable table that you can pop up everywhere at the coastline, that had these telescopic legs that can adjust to every ground. And these were some more snippets from the movie. I mean, not movie, like short mini clip. You can watch it on our Instagram channel. This is the last project I'm going to show you in the category of beauty. It could have easily been in the sustainable category as well. So I think it's quite a good transition point. It's edible research, which is something we are forcing ourselves to, or it's part of our culinary vision, that we are exploring things that are growing in our environment that you're not used to eat, but you can actually eat. I think there's around 12 crops that are making up for 75% of all of the calories we consume, which is corn, rice, soybeans, potatoes, etc. But there are more than 7,000 plants that you can eat that are not cultivated because maybe they're not economically interesting or logistically too tough. And apparently that's something that is more important than ecological diversity in agriculture. And this, of course, is the reason of a heavily industrialized agricultural system. But speculating on future food system in which we could produce things more decentral and more locally, it's, I think, worth opening up our eyes and understand what is growing there. So this is the yucca flower, the one example I want to share. Yucca is a plant that is more known in South America for its roots and eaten a lot, but I think also in South America not a lot of people eat the flower. It's just like the flowers being like ordered by size. There's a vacuum bag. We have a lot of vacuum bags at home and we use them to pickle things and to create interesting tastes. And that was the first try to arrange the flower and to induce it with some kind of a flower aroma oil. And then Martha is doing all of these tests, trying to see what can you do with it. This here, I need to ask her what it was, but it's like trying to work with other ingredients and see what kind of taste goes well together. This is like a fried version and stuffed, a sweet one. And like this end to the story is that we are trying to like give a lot of detail to it and really curate these images to create beautiful things to communicate. Again, like guys and girls, you can open up your eyes and there's more things to eat. So that's the bridge to sustainability. And of course, I want to, like we cannot just like undo time and go back 30,000 years and imagine a world in which we are like running around picking berries and collecting things and just eat what is on our direct environment. Our food systems have become much more complex. So I brought this quote from the introduction text from the Spanish Pavilion from the Architecture Biennale 23, which is every time you eat without being aware of it, you connect your palette to a plethora of remote sites, supermarkets, greenhouses, farms, warehouses, logistics, networks, cold chains, wastelands, like all of this makes up the food cosmos that is present while eating. And our job being involved into the food sector is to be very aware of it. And that's not always easy because you cannot do it all the time. So what we are doing to ensure the quality is that we embed ourselves into a network of people. Like I just added a couple of ones that I found. Nilo, like a winemaker, Cada, olive oil producer. We have Pau, our farmer. Like all of the vegetables we get from the local farmer, from our village. But it's not only about the producers where the food is coming from, it's also about the creatives that we work together, the videographers, the photographers that have a certain lens and share like certain values, as well as designers that come up with interesting material experiments, etc. And exactly like with the plants that we're trying to explore, we are forcing ourselves to get in touch with these kind of projects and people and do like on a regular basis studio visits and to enlarge our network. And when you embed yourself into such a network, then sustainability comes to you and you don't need to force it too much on the project. Like there was last year, the moment when our farmer called us and he told us that in August he will close his store, all of the employees will go to holidays, but this year he had so many tomatoes and he said it would be a pity that all of them would just rot because it was 1 ton of tomatoes per week that we could get for free. And he said like, if you want to have them, take them. And we thought like, of course we will take them, and we tried to do something fun with it. So we organized a tomato party, which was just about making tomato sauce. It was very simple. I hadn't had lots of photos, so I was like looking up our story archive, and you can see where we got like one of many batches with the car. We transported it, and people were coming, and we just peeled tomatoes for the whole day, all together, ultimately making tomato sauce and eating something very simple as noodles with tomato sauce. And I think that's kind of the essence. Like sometimes you don't need everything to look crazy and everything to be perfect, and that's how it can work as well, because you have some kind of value that you add to it, which is something which you can do together. Togetherness is super important for us because that's how we started the whole project. Like 1.5 years ago, we found this beautiful place that I will tell a little bit more about in 3 minutes, where we opened up our doors and invited strangers to us and to cook for them. And in the beginning, we had like 10 people, 12 people, 15 people who would like constantly repeat it from weekend to weekend to weekend. I think like in the first 6 months, we did this every time. Back then, it was not the idea of making a job out of it. It was more what we did. And now we professionalized this concept, and exactly like the BST Talks, we have a monthly event where we are forcing the idea of togetherness a little bit more, inviting one special guest to come to us. These guests can be different chefs, they can be designers, artists, musicians, they can be producers, farmers, olive oil makers, winemaker we had. And with these people together, inspired by them, we create a menu and organize an event and just have a good time. So that's some of the image of like the tables inside and outside. That's like the kitchen in action. And there's this beautiful drawing by Sarah Wigglesworth, which maybe some of you already know. It shows the dining table in the process. And I think it's really beautiful because it shows the transformative power of the community, of something can change over time. And of course, the result of such an evening is not the mess that is created afterwards, it's just the evidence for what has happened on the table or at a table, which is interaction and exchange and communication. And I'm really proud of all of the interesting and funny stories that were brought to the table, of all of the connections that were made at these events. There were like several projects that had the starting point of people that got to know, and even friendship that was created. So I thought this is a good moment to make a little bit of a commercial for our project. The next one is going to be on the 29th of November. If you need friends or in need of a creative project or whatever, or just want to eat something good, we'll work together with a Chinese chef, and we're going to explore the 4 big Chinese cuisines, and I think this one will be really special as well. So Open Kitchen is about bringing new perspectives to the table. It's about open doors, open arms, open minds, open bottles, and I think the best thing about it is also open end. So we start with the dinner, and then afterwards we just see with the dynamics of the group how it goes. I think the longest we had started at 6 and ended at 5 in the morning. So this is a continuation of the commercial, and another reason to come. We were very lucky to find this amazing place which we could rent. It's just outside of Barcelona in Tella, and is embedded into the context where you can find yucca plants and this stuff. There's just some photos of the kitchen. That's where all of the creative, recipe making is happening. And then we have in the top floor like this big place, which really allows us to work on the setups, to develop ideas, and to do things basically. And to end this talk, we thought it's adequate in the context of an architecture office to bring in architectural detail of the house, which is this ceiling from the first floor. And we 3D scanned it and made, with your help, like a 3D printed mold with silicone, and we filled it up and was just finishing, came out of the dehydrator yesterday, and we started making small bites with them, which you can eat after the questions, I guess. Yes, thank you.